Okay, everybody, this is chapter 5, section 6. We're going to look at parallel lines and perpendicular lines on a graph, okay? So not too sure if we've really been exposed to what parallel lines and perpendicular lines are. So let's just make sure we all understand it before we move on, okay? Parallel lines, we got these definitions: parallel lines, perpendicular lines, and then something called opposite reciprocals, which we have used before. So we have to remember what that means. Okay, parallel lines are lines in the same plane, which means the same graph. Okay. And they never intersect. So to do that, they have to have the same slope. Okay. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect at right angles, so at 90 degrees. Okay, and to be able to do that, the slopes have to be the opposite reciprocal of each other. Okay, opposite reciprocals mean that we're going to flip the fraction, whatever it is, and switch the sign. So flipping the fraction is pretty good. Switching the sign means to go from either positive to negative, or negative to positive, depending on what you have. Okay, so let's do some practice on just doing that, flipping the fraction and switching the sign. So we're going to flip the fraction, and the sign was positive to begin with, so we're going to make it negative. So opposite reciprocal. Okay, so we're going to take this, we're going to flip the fraction. The sign was negative, so we're going to make it positive. You don't have to write the plus sign, just want to make sure you see what I'm doing, okay? Now, when you get a whole number, remember, whole numbers are a fraction. You do have a 1 underneath it, so I can still flip it. So I'm going to flip it, and it was negative, so it's now positive. Okay? Remember, 1 can be written as a fraction 2. To flip it, I'm just going to flip it. But in this case, it was negative again, so I make it positive. All right. Okay, so that's taking the opposite reciprocal. Shouldn't really be hard. Opposite means I change the sign. Reciprocal means I flip it. It shouldn't be too difficult to do. It's just you have, when we get to writing equations, we're going to have to do this with a slope that we might have. Okay. All right, so here we're going to flip it and change the sign, so now it becomes 8. Here we're going to flip it, so it becomes 2/7, and we're going to change the sign now and make it negative. Here we're going to flip it, so 3/1, and that really just becomes 3, okay? And we're going to change the sign. Here we're going to flip it, so remember it's over a 1, so it's going to become 1/12, and we change the sign. We get that, okay? All right, so let's do an opposite reciprocal. In this first example, we're going to rewrite the equation of a parallel line. So what we're going to be given is we're going to be given a point, okay, and we're going to be given an equation. Now, this equation just represents a line that's already out there, okay? So we got our M, and we know our B, okay? We want to write an equation of a line that's using this point that's parallel to this line. If you remember our definitions, parallel lines have the same slope. So the slope of the line that we're given and the slope of the line I have to find should have the same slope. So we're going to take that slope out. We're going to yank it out, and we're going to write it down. We're going to go ahead and remember, we're going to take the slope-intercept form of a line. We did this in a couple sections ago. And we're going to take this point that we have, and we're going to plug that in with the slope that we have, okay? And we're going to use that to get our B. So hopefully you remember doing that. So my Y value is 5. My M is 2/3. My X value from that point was 12. And I'm trying to find B. Okay, so we've done this before. You've got a slope, you got a point. Before you had to find the slope, so actually this one's a little bit easier, and got to do a little bit of math, okay? So 2 over 3, remember I'm multiplying that, so 2 times 12 is 24. 3 times 1 is 3. 24 over 3, does that reduce? Yeah, it does. It reduces to 8 plus b. How do you solve for b? I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. And I get b is -3. Okay? So now I have my b, and I have my slope. So now I'm going to go write the equation of the line in that form again. Okay? So now I can just take my pieces and plug them in. Y equals my slope, 2/3, x, and my b is a -3, so -3. Okay? And if you look at it, parallel lines should have the same slope. So I just wrote the new equation of a line that went through this point. And here was the slope of the line that I started with. Are the slopes the same? They are, so therefore they'll be parallel on a graph. They'll never intersect. Okay, so you got to come back and really study this and go back over that. We've done it before in another form. Should not be. This is actually a little bit easier. Just got to think a little bit. All right, we got to see if these two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. That's what classifying is. So you're looking to see if they're parallel, which means do they have the same slope? Are they perpendicular? Will they have opposite reciprocals, or will it be neither? So to do that, you need to make sure that both equations that you have are in this form. Y equals mx plus b. If you look at this equation, it's in that form. There's my m, and that's going to be the most important thing. Slopes here are what I'm going to look at to see if I got what I got. So I got to get y by itself in this equation, so I have to divide everything by 4. So I can get it to look like this, okay? So the 4's cancel out, I get y. -5 divided by 4 doesn't give me anything except a fraction, x. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So here's my slope. We already identified my slope over here. I look at them. If they were parallel, they'd be the same. They're not the same. If they're perpendicular, they're the opposite reciprocal of each other. Did I flip it and change the sign? Yes, you did. So these are perpendicular. Just looking at the slopes, tell me what kind of lines I got, parallel or perpendicular. Okay, -5 over 4 is the opposite reciprocal of 4 over 5. Okay, all right, let's go here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to write an equation of a line that's going to be perpendicular through this point, and it's going to be parallel or perpendicular to that equation. Okay, so here's my slope of the equation they gave me. It's in y equals mx plus b, so it's fine. All I need is a slope, but I need my other line to be perpendicular to this one. So that means the slopes have to be opposite reciprocals. So I've got to take this slope and flip it and change its sign. When I flip it, I get 3 over 1 or 3. And it was a positive slope of 1/3, so I'm going to make it the opposite. I'm going to make it negative. Okay. Once again, I got my x and my y. I'm going to take my point, my slope intercept, and I'm going to take my x and y from the point. I'm going to take my new slope and plug it in here to find b. Okay. So my y from that point is 4. My m is -3 now. I had to change it. My x is 2, and I'm finding b. Okay. So 4 equals -3 times 2 is -6 plus b. To get b by itself, I'm going to add 6. And I get 10 equals b. So there's my b. I got my slope. I can go write my equation now in this form. So y equals slope was -3 and b is 10, so plus 10. And there's your equation that's perpendicular to the one that they gave me, okay? And they want me to pick the proper one, so it looks like it's D, okay? I can't really pick my answer unless I do the work. Okay, so make sure star this one, come back and look at what we did. It's not really that hard. You just stuff like this, which is actually more steps, so this shouldn't really be tough. Just you gotta think and remember what to do. Okay, so make sure you do all your work. There's lots of practice on this one. Do a good job. If you got stuck, then make sure you ask for help. Okay, all right, thanks.